one of the things that I find can really throw people off is their emotions and dealing with difficult emotions, stressful times. And I have talked about sort of preparing for your worst days, the days when nothing seems to go wrong, and how you should look towards like your bare minimum. Like, what is the bare minimum that you can do to help keep you on track with your goals, which is great, you know, to be mentally and physically prepared for those days. But we also want to start thinking about how we can manage our emotions and regulate our emotions even better, so that the pressure to perhaps have an outlet through food is not quite as strong. So often when we have these negative emotions, we're relying on food to help comfort us or distract us or something. So if that sounds like you, often I tell my clients to implement something called emotional hygiene. So emotional hygiene is basically just like dental hygiene or any other kind of hygiene that you do, which is something you do on a regular basis. So the dentist is great because it's a really good comparison that we brush our teeth twice a day, probably, hopefully, brush our teeth twice a day, and then every 6 months, hopefully, you're going to the dentist and you are, you know, getting a checkup and making sure everything looks good and maybe getting some pointers on what you need to do differently. So emotional hygiene works in the same way. We should be creating some kind of routine or habit, hopefully daily, but maybe just a couple of times a week, that gives us an outlet for our emotions, or gives us a way of processing our emotions and letting those emotions go. So a very common one that you've probably heard from mental health experts is the use of meditation to connect with your body again, to identify your emotions, and to then, you know, sort of let those go and calm your emotions and your body and your mind. So that's a really good option. For some people, that just feels a little bit too extreme. Something else that is really good is free writing. Now, I don't like writing in a diary. I feel really strange about it, but some people really enjoy it, and you just write down anything that comes to mind, and it's a good outlet for your emotions. I actually a few years ago found that I much prefer writing poems, and this was something that came about quite organically. I was kind of encouraged to do some writing, but I found that I just didn't really like the whole Dear Diary situation, and so I found that putting it into a poem was actually much better for me, because I kind of took away the awkwardness. I was more focused on getting the poem structure right, but at the same time I was expressing my emotions. Other people maybe like drawing or painting or something along those lines, but it could be as simple as reading a book, listening to an audiobook, basically just something that you get to take time to decompress. So even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, it's better than nothing. And I know that some people might have little kids, and having 5 minutes to yourself is a dream. And what I like to tell these people is, maybe when you can, say you are, I find the car is really good for, busy mums and dads. If you are picking your kids up from daycare, maybe you can just spend 5 minutes in the car before you pick them up doing that meditation. But when that's not an option, my second best go-to is just to sit in the car and scream, and have a really good scream and let out those frustrations and those emotions before you obviously pick the kids up. Maybe you just don't do it with the kids in the car, because then they are, you're releasing that emotion, you're releasing that pent-up frustration, and you only have to do it for like 10-20 seconds or something, which is probably the maximum you're going to get with little kids. It's still a release, it's still a way to let those emotions out. So if you do this on a regular basis, the idea is that you're much more in control of your emotions in a healthy way, you're much more able to manage your emotions, process your emotions in a healthy way, so that you're not having all that pent up emotion that then sort of is like a blown gasket, which leads to you then having those emotional eating episodes. So I hope this helps, and until next time, take care of yourself. Bye.